What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 36 of Big Game Talk with Brad and Chris. I'm Brad, that's Chris over there, and we're presented by 11thisland.com, the cultural capital of the internet. That's 11th-island.com. Make sure you check it out, where you can find our podcasts, all sorts of blogs, and podcasts coming up soon. So, first of all, Chris, a lot of UFC cuts are coming up, and Yoel Romero was one of them, shockingly. So, what do you think about that?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the news broke. I'm surprised how it happened, or in terms of the news, like the way it broke to us. So first, you get, in my understanding of the timeline, first Yoel Romero gets cut, and then
Mhm.
a little bit of time passes, and then Dana White says, "Yeah, 60 more people around are going to be cut from the UFC roster when all is said and done." Now, I'm shocked that if that's the case they started with the Romero just out of nowhere and then said that. Like I'm a bit surprised they didn't kind of warm us up to the fact that
This is
hey,
the first time though the UFC has said this, but when UCA Formiga got cut, I think about a month ago, he came out and said through his agent that the UFC told him there was going to be 75 cuts coming. So it's something that's floated around a little
mhm.
bit. So I wonder if the UFC kind of felt like it was kind of known, and I think that's a smart play because I assume nobody else that they cut is going to be as high profile as Yoel Romero. So you
Yeah.
start off, get the bad publicity out of the way. So then when you're doing the real bad thing, cutting 60 other people at
Yeah.
Christmas time, it's not getting as much publicity.
Yeah, but it almost I feel like if you cut Yoel Romero, with the 60 guys, it almost plays better than
Do you think they
this.
should have kept Yoel Romero? Because what Dana White said is he's lost, I believe it's four of his last five, either three or four of his last five, and he's 44 years old. Like when you say
Yeah.
that, it kind of makes sense. And they're
And
in a horrible position with him because he's never getting a title shot again because he's
yeah.
lost so many now.
Yeah, and also I think it's not just the fact that you lost, it's how you lost too. And you look back to the Adesanya fight, and that just I think he won that fight
I think
in
he won
terms of,
that fight too.
yeah,
Yeah.
technically, but at the same time, he didn't go out and put it on it was probably one of the worst fights of the year in terms of just action. Um
And
and it
that'll be the
wasn't.
last fight he had in the UFC.
Yeah, so I think puts a sour taste in Dana White's mouth when you see a guy go out and just put out just a nothing burger in performance, and yeah, you still won, but you were standing in the middle of the octagon like this the whole time, going
Yeah.
like
Like
that.
like that too.
Yeah, it's like somebody was playing UFC 4 and their controller battery died, and they're just standing there.
But it was to me, I was shocked when I first saw it. When they broke it down, it makes sense. And I think the way the new ESPN deal, the problem is for pay-per-views, they have no incentive to stock their pay-per-views because they get a flat pay from ESPN.
Yeah,
So it doesn't matter how many pay-per-views they get. For the fight nights too, I'm pretty sure the way it runs is they just have to be put out. It doesn't matter how many views they get. It's just as long as they put it out there, ESPN's paying them a flat fee. So it
yeah,
doesn't matter. They signed so many contender series guys. They're getting 12 and 12 deals. You're not going to keep these other guys that are making six figures when it doesn't provide you anything else,
yeah.
especially the guys like a Yoel Romero, where he's on a bit of a skid and he's never going to fight for the title again. There really is no reason to keep him around. What shocks me too is, did you hear that Bellator's passing on him?
Yeah, I didn't hear that, but I'm not as shocked as like maybe when this story first broke, I was like, oh, he's going to Bellator. But now that I've thought about it more, it's not that shocking. He is old. He's 44 years old, and for Bellator to bring in a UFC guy and then have him be old, past his career, UFC passes you up. You're not gonna get many fights out of him as it is, and those fights, it's a lose lose because either he stinks and you just acquired someone who stinks, or he mucks your competition and the sloppy seconds beat your like main course.
I get
Eh,
that. I and like that's a good argument for when they passed on Silva, I believe. But Yoel Romero's different, a different beast. because his last fights in the UFC were competitive though. Like as much as we would trash the Adesanya fight, it was very competitive. We
Yeah,
thought he won.
so the fact that he was competitive makes it even more of a risk for Bellator to take it in because it's just an optics thing. If UFC is cutting this guy, he's not. It's not like the contract comes out and he says, you know, they can't come to a deal, and then he goes to Bellator. That's one thing, but I mean, this is Bellator. This is getting a guy off waivers. You know, this is just,
Yeah.
you know, that it's not a great look when that guy. It's not like if Romero ended a contract and then wasn't, and they said we don't want to sign a new one, like to
Mhm.
drop a guy and then go into Bellator and then muck your Bellator guys. It's not worth it for Bellator.
But
And then
the thing is though, if Bellator is going to take that stance, a lot of UFC fighters are going to be in trouble because they're cutting 60 guys. Bellator is the next step down the ring that their
yeah,
agents are going to be calling. So then
well,
you're looking at a situation where all these fighters going to go, because I'm sure Bellator is
we'll
probably
take
going to pick up a
some.
lot.
We'll take some. I'm just thinking with a guy like with the name of Romero, Yoel Romero. I
Mhm.
don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's.
To me, I think if you're Bellator, I would have signed him and I would have thrown him in the title shot right away at middleweight, or if he wanted to finally make that jump to light heavyweight, I would have put him in right away at light heavyweight, or I would have matched him up with somebody like Corey Anderson at light heavyweight,
Mm,
because then there's kind of they're both like right out of the UFC. So if one beats another, you know what I mean.
that's a good move.
You're
That
not putting Bellator down.
Yeah, that's a fair move, and I mean Bellator. When I make this point, I don't mean Bellator has options that they can't make it work, but I'm just trying to reason out why Bellator wouldn't want to take and why they
Yeah,
haven't,
no,
because the fact is they haven't, so there's got to be a reason why. Um,
I think early on in Bellator, they became so much known for they were taking Rampage Jackson, Chael Sonnen,
yeah,
Wanderlei Silva, all the old UFC guys, and that's what they got known for. So now they're afraid to do that. But I think you
hmm
have to take a step back and look at it
yeah,
and say that Yoel Romero is not a normal 44-year-old fighter.
hmm
He like he's the equivalent, like he might as well be 30. Like he's a freak. And I mean
yeah,
that with all respect.
yeah. I know what you're
He's a
saying.
freak,
Yeah,
and he probably has quite a few fights left in him. I mean,
hmm
more behind him than in front, but he's not looking for one and done here.
yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where he ends up. I mean, maybe I mean Bellator might be even waiting for some dust to settle, in terms of seeing who gets dropped from the UFC because I mean, they might like Coker might be licking his chops, getting ready to look outside the back like the back door of UFC, see who's leaving. Um
Hmm.
and and it's one of those things like Bellator calling up the accountants and saying, like we gotta we gotta make sure we got money to hire these guys, because there could be some big names in here. That
That's a really good point.
you
You
know,
never know how much, especially how bad COVID hit them. Like
yeah.
how much can they afford to take on
hmm
for fighters right now?
Because I don't think Romero's in a position where he's going to be taking the first contract that comes through the door. He's no fool, and he's been around and he's seen what he's worth, and he's still, as you say, like he's got fights left, and he's worth something. He's not a just because he got released from the UFC doesn't mean he's going to be going to Bellator on a discount. You know, well, I mean, he's not going to be making as much as he was in the UFC, but still, he's going to be
He
making.
might.
He
Honestly,
might.
some fighters go
True,
over and make
yeah.
more.
So yeah, so then he may be looking out for more or the same, and Bellator saying, "Well, look, we don't have the full range of what we usually have because of COVID. We haven't had a gate in a year, and let's just wait and see who gets dropped because there could be five big names in those 60 that we want to get, and we can only afford three. Let's not spend money on Romero just yet before we see what's coming out." You know.
The one thing, an organization that I promise you is going to make a big offer to him that I really don't want to see him go to is bare knuckle fighting, or bare knuckle fighting championship.
Yeah, that's a good way to end your career and very quickly. Like,
Well, one, Romero is going to kill people in it, and it's also it's a I hate to shit on the bare knuckle fighting league because it is entertaining to watch, but seeing an elite MMA fighter end his career there is somewhat, it's, I don't know the right word for it. It's almost discouraging because it's such a fall from grace if you're an elite MMA fighter. If you're kind of middle of the pack and you go there and you cash out, that's one thing. But when you got Yoel Romero's made money,
Yeah.
he's elite. He should be able to go to pretty much to the fact that Bellator, like I said, I think they should sign him, but he should be able to go to any other organization in the world other than the UFC or Bellator if he wanted to. So to go there, it would feel like a fall from grace. And honestly, too, who's going to sign up to fight Yoel Romero and bare knuckle? Like that's just he's going to kill somebody in it.
Yeah. Well, so what you're saying is it's just kind of like a lower tier, or just like a little bit. It's not that it's a lower tier. It's just it's outside of the mainstream. I think is what
It
you're
is
trying to get at.
when people that don't watch it's kind of like when you were trying to defend combat sports to your friends and family that
Yeah.
aren't into it and think it's barbaric. Bare knuckle fighting's the one that you kind of hide because then people will really have a good argument against it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sweeping under the rug.
Yeah, exactly.
Man,
Is there any sorry, what were you gonna say? Yeah.
like, I mean, the MMA gloves. Do they do that much?
Yeah, but
Is
compared to
it?
bare knuckle
Yeah,
boxing,
that's true.
and
Yeah,
especially to where bare knuckle, they're in just these random barns. David Feldman, the guy that runs it too, he's a bit of a weirdo too. Like when they first started, he was threatening to not pay guys if they didn't go put on good performances. I mean, you can't do that. Like, so I'm guessing he didn't do that. But to say that,
yeah,
it's just strange. And
yeah.
he stood us up for an interview
Yeah,
too. So come on,
yeah.
guy.
I guess that bridge is officially burnt now.
Yeah, he's a strange guy.
Yeah.
Not like and the interview, I would have been happy to interview with him, but like I'm not jaded from that. I had those feelings before.
Oh,
Is
so
there
you're Mr. Two-Face up in here.
no, I would have liked to ask him that question. Like
What? Why are you
what was
so
going
weird?
through what is going through your head when you threaten to not pay guys that probably aren't making very much at all and literally just punched each other in the face with bare knuckles in front of about 2,000 fans in what looks like a mall, Mr. Feldman?
I think that's more of a statement than a question there, Brad. I think that's more of a you're attaching a little bit too much of your own biases into that. I didn't go to journalism school, but I don't know about that one.
Regardless, what fighters are you now most afraid of in the UFC being cut? Because I got one that I'm terrified for.
Well, I got my fingers crossed. It's Israel Adesanya, but a boy can dream.
I'm terrified. Yeah, Adesanya is not big. He's probably the last fighter other than Conor McGregor that's being cut. Honestly, I think they'd cut McGregor before Adesanya at this point.
Yeah.
I'm terrified though about Cowboy Cerrone because he's 0-4-1 his last 5 fights.
Yeah.
He's in that age group where like he's got far more behind him than in front of him. I'm afraid that they're gonna cut him, and I'm gonna be rattled if they do.
Yeah. But honestly, I think if anybody could just pop off for Bellator, it's Cowboy Cerrone.
But Cowboy, like with all the UFC records that he has, I would hate to see him go. Like he's somebody that should retire in the UFC.
Yeah.
Do you not agree?
Yeah, and I think Dana White is a guy that's very much based off of loyalty. Like he's a loyalty guy, and it's what have you done for me lately? Like that stuff he doesn't forget. And I think there's enough pinches that Cowboy Cerrone has gotten Dana White out of in terms of his willingness to fight anywhere, anytime.
Yeah.
Where Dana White, like the more you fight and the more you're willing, the more UFC wants to work with you. And I didn't see that as much from Yoel Romero as much
At
as
all.
I did, at all, which is why, and which is why I'm not really shocked. Like as good of a fighter he is, and regardless of the losing streak, I'm not shocked that if anybody's going to get cut from the UFC, it's Yoel Romero. Cowboy Cerrone is a completely different animal. He's a different. I think he has a very different status within the UFC organization. I
Yeah.
mean, but at the same time, I get your concern because I mean, in terms of winning fights, his track record of recent days has been very similar to Yoel Romero, who just got cut. So what are I think you have to really think about what are the reasonings, what's the criteria UFC is using to make these cuts when it comes to getting rid of 60 guys.
For Cowboy, I don't think he'll be cut for two reasons. One, which you were just saying there about like his loyalty to the UFC, how much he's got Dana White out of pinches. I believe for that he won't be. And number two, until McGregor fights Poirier and presumably beats him, they can't have McGregor's last win be cut from the UFC.
That's huge too. That is huge. That's a great point. Because I mean, think about
Thank you.
really the fall from, not the fall from grace, but the recent skid Cerrone has. It really starts with Conor McGregor.
Yeah, it does. Because that was
Yeah.
his. Well, no, he lost to Gaethje before the McGregor fight.
Okay, yeah.
That one wasn't pretty because he like his last Cerrone's last win. We were at live. That was the Iquenta fight.
Yeah.
Was it
Oh yeah,
not?
true. Yeah, no, it was his last win. Yeah, because
Because
you're
I
right.
mean, he beat though Anthony Pettis. He beat Anthony Pettis, but he got robbed by the judges.
Yeah,
Remember?
that was stupid.
Yeah,
That was and I think Dana White, didn't Dana White say something about that one?
I think so. But then you have two like the Nico Price. His last fight was a draw. That was because there was a point deduction for the eye poke too.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, he's skidding. The Conor McGregor was kind of the peak of that skid because that was just a bad performance.
Mm-hmm.
But that I don't think he'll be cut. Another guy I'm afraid for too is Cub Swanson. I love Cub. He fights this Saturday too. We'll get into the 256 preview in a bit. But if he loses, he's really skidding.
Yeah.
He could be a cut too.
Now, okay, is this, speaking of, people fighting soon and stuff like that in the next month, is Dana White just trying to, up the ante a little bit? Is he just, do you think really there's maybe 30 guys that they actually plan to cut and they're saying 60 just because, like the holidays are coming soon, people are off, time to watch some fights, you get going for the next year, you start the year with a big Conor McGregor card, you're trying to, get people thinking, maybe it's me and just to go out and get into wars with guys. Do you think there's an element of that?
Maybe. The UFC is gonna have to make some significant cuts. They took so many Contender Series guys without any live gates essentially this year since March. They have to be hurting financially.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have to cut people. The 60 number, I think, like you said, might be inflated. We're gonna have to wait and see.
Yeah, because how
And
many people are on the roster?
hundreds.
Yeah,
And that's part of the problem when you have so many people on the roster, you have to offer them all 3 fights a year, right? That's part of their contract stipulation. So it almost gets to a point where if you have too many guys, you can't offer them enough fights, and then you I don't know if you have to pay out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you can't offer enough. Now we obviously know not most fighters probably don't fight 3 times in the year, but you still got to offer them.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's 724 active fighters.
I mean,
that is a huge amount.
That's a huge number. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's far too many. And I mean, think about how many were picked up from the Contender Series this year.
Mm-hmm.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like every card they were picking up 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it is what it is. Can you hear that phone ringing?
Yeah, but it's good.
Okay.
It's
okay, there we go. It's gone.
See, it's like we're inviting people into Brad's home. Like it's the down home feeling. Big game talk.
Yeah. Oh,
we're just chilling in Brad's basement.
Yeah. But it's gonna be interesting to see who gets cut. That's for sure. I hope they're all able to find other homes decently quick,
Yeah.
right? But who knows with these COVID times?
Yeah. Now, as we've talked about UFC fighters that won't be making money this Christmas, let's talk about some people that will be. Logan Paul is gonna fight Floyd Money Mayweather.
See,
When is it?
it's in February. I think it's
Yeah, it's
February
February. Okay, so
20th.
it's not a Christmas, but they're making money right now off of it for
But here's
sure.
the thing, they're calling it a super exhibition. And now my question is, like, first of all, what is this? What weight class? Because I'm pretty sure Logan Paul's last fight he weighed in at 200 pounds. Mayweather last weighed in at 150. They're not meeting in the middle. Logan Paul's not dropping 25. Mayweather's not picking up 25. So there's going to have to be some stipulation that they're going to be able to be wildly apart in the weight class. Probably why it's going to be a super exhibition. But what other rules are going to be in place here too?
Yeah, I think first of all, let's hone in on that weight difference. I mean, does let's say this is not a super exhibition. Let's stop even using the word super. It's just an exhibition. But it's an exhibition with Snoop Dogg performing at it, which makes it a super exhibition. I
Wait,
think.
Snoop Dogg's at this one
I
too?
don't know, but you got it.
Yeah, he's going to be there. He's
He's
going to
gonna
be there.
be there. He's gonna
Mhm.
be there. We know this is the new trend with the musicians going and the like, and I think it's just gonna be even worse with the COVID still going on, and you can't go to concerts, you can't go to live sporting events, so everything's gonna be geared towards the
And
at-home
they just
experience.
mash them
They
together.
just mash them together, slap on that $50 price tag, and you get to watch.
It's going to be. Did you see the pricing for this
No, what
though?
is it? Is it's not 50?
If you buy it right now, it's $25. I'm pretty sure. Like, bring up the pricing. You're at the computer
Yeah,
there.
okay,
I'm
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
sure that it's right now for a period of time. It's 25. Once it hits 1 million, it jumps in price. But then after a certain date, it jumps to 40. I think after December 31st, it goes up to 50. And then into February, I think it's $75. So they're trying to scam people into buying the fight right now.
Man, they okay, let's so you got that. Let's see what are the odds.
I think
Um
it was Mayweather was minus 5,000 and then Paul was plus 1,500 or something.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Here's the thing, Floyd Mayweather is going to destroy Logan Paul, but as much as I really want, like, I'm not a fan of the Paul brothers. I'm not going to mince words with that. But I think if Logan Paul beat Floyd Mayweather, it would be the funniest thing to ever happen. And that's what I'm going to be cheering for. I think it would be absolutely hilarious if Logan Paul just landed an overhand right and just knocked him
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, because I think part of the fun of Logan Paul is just to watch him and judge him. You know what I mean? It's to watch him and that only happens when his head like the bigger his confidence grows, the more just he becomes a living meme, you know. And I
Mm.
think and I think yeah, it's there's a big weight difference, you know, and
No,
which I'm sure.
I don't think the weight difference matters. Yes, but Floyd Mayweather could dance around and just jab him to death, and it doesn't matter. Floyd Mayweather could just play with him, but if he get too, I can't see any scenario that it happens. But I hope to hell it does.
Yeah, and the thing is, then KSI comes out and can fight anybody he wants.
Yeah, if Logan Paul beat Floyd Mayweather somehow, some way, KSI would come out and say, "I'm the best boxer to ever walk this planet."
Yeah, which is excellent. And then I mean, but I think if Logan Paul loses, and I feel like we've gotten to the point where YouTubers now we're just debating about who could. It's like a Superman could be Batman,
Mm-hmm.
like debate, you know. But if he loses to Floyd Mayweather, then he could come out and you can set up a Conor McGregor fight. Like the logic to set up a Conor McGregor fight is there because both guys have lost to Mayweather.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You could do that. I think as long as McGregor's signed to the UFC, I don't think they're going to do another boxing debacle. I don't think.
Yeah,
But
but it's
like,
a boxing debacle that Conor McGregor can win.
I know, but the UFC's not. Especially if McGregor, like, if Khabib does fully retire and they want McGregor to make a run at the title, they're not letting him box again.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah,
But as
but
much as
Dana
I,
White, yeah. But what makes more, a Conor McGregor title fight against some schmuck in the UFC, or a Conor McGregor non-title fight with
but
Logan
here,
Paul that Snoop Dogg is singing at?
but here's the problem: is if you even bring up boxing and Conor McGregor, one, Dana White's gonna have PTSD just for that whole 2 year stretch when he was out of the octagon, and then he's gonna have PTSD for every other UFC fighter in the division who still, after a big title win, says, "I want to go box somebody," and he has to say, "You're not leaving. You're gonna defend your title. You're not going to box. Quit it." So I think that almost just cancels all that out. I will
Now, do
say
you
though,
think
but here's the thing: Dylan Dennis, Scott Coker for Bellator would love to do a cross promotion, and Dylan Dennis, who's in Conor McGregor's camp and chirps the shit out of the Paul brothers on Twitter every day, would love to box either of them. So I think I'm jumping ahead here on that undercard, which it makes it tough because you're already selling the pay per view, so they don't really need to build the undercard. Jake Paul, Dylan Dennis on the undercard. Dylan Dennis is going to smoke Jake Paul. That's DC doesn't think so. Read my blog about why he will. Dylan Dennis on the undercard gets a win. Logan Paul gets his ass beat by Floyd Mayweather, but then comes and fights Dylan Dennis to protect his little brother. Sell the tickets again. And then Dennis is going to smoke Logan Paul, and Logan Paul is going to be 0-3 in boxing with millions in the bank.
Wow,
That's how it's going to happen.
that's how it's gonna happen. That's gonna how it's gonna happen. And
Is that not a good play, though?
but where does KSI fit into all this?
Oh, I mean, you're not going to have KSI. You can't have KSI in the undercard of a Logan Paul card.
Yeah, no, you can't. But you got KSI waiting.
He's still actively training?
I don't know. Yeah, that's the funny thing. KSI won, and I don't think I've heard a peep about him boxing again. Like, he's done, which is smart. You proved your point. Like,
Yeah.
Logan.
If I got in a professional boxing match and won, it was 1-0. I said, I'm out.
Yeah, it's like, how do you lose to a YouTuber and then say, yeah, I deserve a fight against the best boxer in the world
And get it. Now,
and get it?
the one thing too, the KSI Logan Paul, and looking back at that fight, which people don't remember, Logan Paul got screwed over in that fight too. He should have won.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Because wasn't there 2-point deduction in a
Yeah.
5-round fight?
Yeah.
Ridiculous. So I mean, he should have won. I'm pretty sure I bet KSI. That was a long time ago, so I was very happy. So I was very much arguing that he did not get screwed over. But hindsight, he did get screwed over. So it's a tough look, but I mean that just shows you the power. It shows you how bad of a spot boxing is in.
Yeah.
And the power of YouTube.
Yeah. I mean, we're on YouTube. You're watching on YouTube right now. And if you aren't, you can't see me pointing at you, so I'm not talking to you.
Yeah, but we live in a wild world. That's for sure. I'm to be honest with you, I'm excited for that fight card. I hope they stack the undercard, and I hope it's not like just random boxers. I hope it's like celebrity stuff.
You actually want it to be all celebrity boxing?
No, I hope it's like the Jake Paul, Dylan Dennis, like weird stuff. Like, I mean, if like, what are you gonna have, like a WBC interim title fight before Logan Paul, Floyd Mayweather go up for an exhibition? What are we doing here? Like, if the main event's gonna be a shit show, the rest of it might as well be too.
So you're talking
like
about
if I'm buying it, I'm buying a shit show. I'm not buying a boxing card.
Yeah.
Like, so it's going to be the spectacle.
You're in the full send. Like, we shouldn't even consider the implications, how we're destroying boxing one card at a time. Let's just full send this and just go fully into the depraved hogwash celebrity, spectacle. Let's like just continue to screw the small time.
Well, but the thing is, like, if you want to go to the circus, you want to see circus things.
Yeah.
You don't want to see like just make it all
now,
spectacle.
This is, I mean, I remember when the KSI Logan Paul stuff first happened, and everybody was saying, why is there two YouTubers fighting on a card with regular boxers? And everybody was saying how, oh, this is going to promote the sport. This is going to be good for the boxers that nobody knows. This is gonna be good. We're gonna get young fans into the sport, and it's just a way of showcasing it and getting their eyes on it for one time so they can be hooked for life. Now we just keep getting hits of these super exhibition fights that are like they're either too old to know what to like still do, or they're too or inexperienced to even know what to do. And we're not even we're basically watching street fights between people who don't know what they're doing, and then the whole card is going to be that now.
But here's the
You know,
thing. As long as the Ollie Act is in place, I'm sorry, John Fitch, boxing is screwed.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
like boxing's a dying sport. I forget what the stat was, how many major belts are in circulation in boxing right now. I think it was over 100. Like it makes no sense. Like there's so many belts, it's so hard to follow. So many different things are going on. The top guys never fight each other because they have different promoters, and they both don't want to, because they know that there's a chance that they might lose, and there's nobody powering them to fight each other. Makes no sense. Boxing's a dying sport. They still go a lot off of that pay-per-view model. The watching the broadcast is horrible for at most boxing events because it takes so long in between fights. And
Yeah,
then the
but you
broadcasters, when was the last time you
you
watched a boxing match and they said anything positive? Unless it's a title fight, like unless you got like Lomachenko, like Teofimo Lopez or Canelo out there, they just rip apart every single boxer in the ring. Like I'm watching a guy that's got like a number 2 beside his name in boxing, and they're telling me that this guy's horrible. Well, who's good then? You're 150 champions, I guess. You know what I mean?
yeah, because I mean, there's a lot of guys with the number two beside their name.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
but that's but do you know what I
they're
mean? Where there's like these top flight guys and they're just tearing them apart during the broadcast. Like this makes no sense. You watch the early prelims for UFC, and they'll promote those guys. They know how to promote them. They might show their weak in some areas, but they'll talk about the things that they're good at. They won't just talk about everything that they do bad.
just like you're doing right now.
Yeah, I was going. Yeah, but do you feel what I'm saying?
Yes, I feel what you're saying.
And I
I
hope the
feel the
people do.
vibrations in my ear from the headphones.
Yeah, I was getting a little fired up there.
Yeah, you getting very fired up. I think we're both getting fired up. I think I'm getting very claustrophobic right now because I have my camera just like positioned at the top of my desktop, but then my headphones are plugged into the monitor. And if I go like this, I'm basically hanging myself on. So I'm very like tight now. And I'm getting very like, and I think I got to take off my hat. Because, whoa, that's no, I'm not. I'm gonna put off that.
Yeah, the audio listeners are just trying to piece together what's happening
Yeah,
right
dude.
now.
It's one of those things, just go onto YouTube. But anyways, yeah, we're getting fired up on this. So we're getting
Yeah. I
this is
mean,
this is some classic. This is some classic big game talk right here.
do you want to rotate to just quickly go over the fight night that happened on the weekend?
Yes, the one that I missed.
So I watched, honestly, main card very good. It was
Yeah.
there wasn't a lot of names on it, but it was a very good card. I was entertained from start top to bottom. So you had the main event, Vittori versus Hermanson. Now has the record for most amount of significant strikes in the middleweight main event. Great fight. Vittori won. Vittori looked really good in the fight as well, especially taking it. I mean, he was supposed to fight this weekend, so it was short notice, but it wasn't really short notice, the fight itself, but the pump to 5 rounds was. Hermanson looked good in it too, but Vittori just looked really good, and now he's going to be in the top 5. And having the split decision loss against Adesanya past is really going to help promote him towards that fight. That is, if Adesanya doesn't move to light heavyweight. The co-main event, Ovin St. Preux versus Jamal Hill. Jamal Hill looked really good. He talked about it in the post fight at the Touch 'em Up University, and that's what he did. Is he just touched up OSP, ended up finishing him on his feet. Other notes: Gabriel Benitez, he brutal knee that just shut down Justin James. I believe that's the guy's name. Body. It was brutal. And then Jordan Levitt too. I mean, just if you saw it where the slam knockout, it's one, if you haven't seen it, go watch it. I mean, he picks him up. He gets kind of like, I don't know what. Oh, I'm drawing a blank on the guys. Wyman. I can't. Matt Wyman. He kind of jumps guard and he's holding on to him. Jordan Levitt literally hears his corner. You can, because I mean, no crowd, you can hear it. He hears his corner say, "Bring him over here." He audibly goes, "All right." Walks across the cage, postures his head against his shoulder, like against his elbow. Matt Wyman's head against his elbow, and then just slams him down. Guy was out as soon as he hit the ground.
Yeah.
It was brutal.
And that's something, I mean, that's a COVID moment right there. Hey, bring him over here.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
And then he did the dirty dancing thing afterwards, where he ran and his corner man held him up in the air. So it was nice to see. And Matt Wyman took, like, that happened when Matt Wyman was like knocked out. So it was tough to see.
Yeah.
But so now we're not going to spend too much on that because it's recording this on Tuesday. It'll come out Wednesday, and that is old news. And Chris didn't even care enough to watch it in the first place.
Yeah, so, I was busy. It was a busy weekend.
So UFC 256 this weekend.
Yeah.
Let's preview, give our predictions. Do you want to go from bottom to top to bottom, Chris?
Let us go bottom to top. Because if you're in for the ride now, you're in for the ride.
Okay, so I'm going to start with the early prelims. Let's just give our prediction. Not if you want to say something about it, say something about it. If there's not a lot to talk about.
We starting with the prelims?
Yeah, we'll just rock it through, give some predictions. Yeah, also, too, 11th Island, I mentioned at the top that we're presented by. We'll talk about that a little bit here at the end because we haven't really talked about it on the podcast, but we'll write a blog for our predictions. And knowing us, they might change from here until we write that blog.
Yeah.
So don't if you're betting on it, wait till the blog comes out. But we'll still give predictions. Chase Hooper, Peter Barrett. Who you got?
Chase Hooper. We were starting with the early prelims.
Do you not want to talk about them?
No, I it's fine, but I was just shocked. I was thinking prelims, but yeah.
If you don't want to talk about it,
I have no.
I'm just saying. Just give me your prediction.
Okay, Hooper.
Okay, yeah, I got Hooper too. He's a stud. Lee Jinglang versus Dwight Grant.
Grant.
Yeah, I got Lee. Sergey Spivak, Jared Vandera.
Spivak. He looks like a vampire.
Vandera. I saw him on the Contender Series.
He looks like a vampire.
That Tisha Torres, Angela Hill, UFC update your website. Angela Hill has COVID. She's out of that fight. Tisha Torres is fighting somebody I don't know. I can't remember their name.
So yeah, I think you got to give it to Tisha Torres then. At this point, at this stage of the game, we don't even know. That's got to be. It's hard to make a pick about someone you don't know. So
yeah, exactly. Gavin Tucker versus Billy Quarantillo. I mean, Quarantillo is a stud, but I'm pretty sure Gavin Tucker's Canadian, so I'm taking him. I could be wrong. I could be shooting myself in the foot there because Quarantillo is a stud.
Yeah.
Mackenzie Dern versus Verna Jandaroba. Mackenzie Dern. Cub Swanson versus Danielle Pineda.
Swanson's getting cut.
Man, I'm taking Swanson. I need him to stay here. Andrea Lee versus Julian Robertson.
You got to go with the vampire again.
Robertson. She's Canadian too, isn't she?
I have no idea. Let me see.
All right, so now we're gonna get to the main event. Now we'll talk about these fights. It's a pretty solid main event, to be quite honest with you. There's a Junior Dos Santos versus Cyril Gane to start it off. It's a very underrated heavyweight fight.
Yeah,
I think it's a really crossroads for Junior Dos Santos, where if he wins, he can probably get a top 5 opponent. And if he loses, he might find himself being one of those 60 we mentioned earlier.
Yeah. I mean, there's a new storyline to be added to this card in light of the 60-man number. You know, there's a few guys. I mean, you said before, Cub Swanson's on this card on the prelims. You know, and then you follow that right almost immediately back up with Dos Santos in a similar spot where you're number 7. You're the like right now you're playing gatekeeper, the old guard. And if you fail at that role, like once you fail at the gatekeeper role,
Mm-hmm.
it's everything goes downhill. And a loss here from Dos Santos, even if you're not getting cut, it can't be good.
It kills your any future title aspirations.
Yeah. So,
But Gain's a
Gain,
stud. He's
yeah,
a stud, and that would be a big step up for him if he wins here.
yeah, and yeah, Gain doesn't play around in the octagon, so
No, I feel that was a very much a look of he doesn't play around, but I've never seen him fight, wasn't it?
yeah,
Yeah. I watched him. Dude, honestly, I can't remember him being. And we watched a lot of UFC. I can't remember
yeah,
watching him in the octagon.
yeah. You called my bluff.
I knew it as soon as you said that. um, I knew it. Yeah, you were very unconvinced. I can't remember when's the last
I
time.
can't. No, I can't use my. He doesn't play around line. It's been figured out. Okay. Oh man.
No, he is good though. I was looking him up before. He is good. So to be honest with you, I'm taking Gain here. I think he beats JDS. I think JDS is on his way out.
Well, I'm gonna take Dos Santos just because.
Yeah, well,
Because
yeah,
Dos Santos doesn't play around either.
because you're a casual.
Yeah.
So next one, Kevin Holland versus Jockery Souza. I mean, Kevin Holland was supposed to be the main event.
Yeah,
last
guy
week.
doesn't play around.
I mean, Kevin Holland, we've seen him fight 4 times this year.
Yeah.
I think it's 4 times. Maybe this is 4th fight. But Jockery is one of the most underrated fighters the UFC's ever had. In all honesty, he's a really good fighter. So, what do you think about this fight?
Wait, it's Kevin Holland Ronaldo suits, right?
With Jockery, oh my man, is this casual hour for you?
Did they change it?
His name's his nickname's Jockery.
Oh, Jockery. They're the same guy.
Such a casual. This guy. Remember
that guy? Yeah, that guy.
Wow, man, we're trying to be a serious MMA podcast here, and people are just gonna turn it off.
Yeah, well, people have already turned it off at this point, Brad. So
it's tough.
It's tough.
So who you got?
I got.
What are your thoughts on it first?
Yeah.
Actually, doesn't. Who cares? You didn't even know the guy's name. I'm gonna tell you my thoughts if you're not in it.
Tell me your thought.
I think Kevin Holland's gonna be a great fighter, and this is a really crossroad. I think I'm gonna just keep plugging this all night. Souza loses this fight, he's getting cut. But I think this is a big step up for Holland, and I think Souza gets the win here.
Gotta be.
What's your pick?
Kevin Holland.
That's fair.
I think. Yeah, the guy doesn't mess around.
You've seen Kevin Holland like
yeah, no, I've seen. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking.
I was about to be like, we got something. Yeah,
I'm just joking. I'm messing with you. Yeah, the guy.
The next one, what's that?
Renato
Moicano versus Rafael Fiziev or whatever. Yeah, right there.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Trying to come through the camera.
Yeah,
so,
dude. I'm just. Okay.
Well, we were going strong, and then we started talking about this, and it just fell off the rails.
It's like okay.
So Fiziev, I got Fiziev here. I think Moicano's not even overrated. He's not that great. And then Fiziev's a stud from what we saw in his last fight against Mark Diacasis. I don't know how to say his last name. Guy with the red mohawk.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I agree there. Moicano has just never been that interesting to me.
Mm-hmm. Co-main event. Probably the people's main event, to be honest, with this card.
Yeah,
Tony Ferguson versus Charles the Bronx Oliveira. This is a crossroads fight for Tony Ferguson. I mean, with a win here, he's not far away from a title shot. But with a loss here, he's never getting one again.
Yeah. I think with Khabib retiring, I mean, I think Tony Ferguson, as long as Khabib has been around, has had almost a free title fight, like a card for free one free title fight, just because the fans have wanted to see Ferguson Khabib. Now that kind of that is gone with Khabib leaving, and Tony Ferguson has to now, after the Gaethje loss, come back and prove himself that he has the tools to get to himself to a title fight and be competent in a title fight. And I think this is the fight. This is a huge. I mean, there's so much going into this fight. This is one of those fights that it's beyond, like we've said, other fights are crossroads. This is a real, like, huge, I mean, as a co-main event to a title fight, this is like all eyes are on this, and Tony Ferguson knows that there's a skid that could happen. Like, he could continue his skid. Not, I wouldn't call it a skid, but he could start a skid, or he can work, like, be a fight away from a title fight. So
yeah, 2 losses in a row would be a skid. It's gonna be interesting to see how he bounces back from, because he got beat up in that Gaethje fight.
Yeah,
like he got beat up really bad. It's gonna be interesting to see how he bounces back from that. And then you also look at somebody like Charles Oliveira, who the fact that he was able to get this fight says a lot to Oliveira, because he's on I want to say like an 8-fight win streak. So he's really trending up, but he's kind of been on the outside looking in at these names. So for him to jump, a lot of the guys, I thought he was going to get matched up with it, like a Dan Hooker, somebody like that. So for him to jump up to Tony Ferguson, he's right in that mix right now. And if he gets a win here, he's not far away from he's not far away from a title shot in a division that's almost impossible to get title shots.
Now, okay, what are you doing if you're the UFC here with this fight? Because my first glance is, if you're Dana White, you're betting on Tony Ferguson to win here, right? In terms of what you want to do with the future of the lightweight division. Does that make sense? Like, do you?
I think, I don't know if it really matters which way. Because I think if Tony Ferguson wins, it's another option to keep atop that lightweight division. I think if he loses, it almost takes a piece out of the extremely crowded division.
Yeah, but it throws in Oliveira.
But Oliveira, it puts him to the top. And like I say, he's not far from a title shot. But of all the guys there, he's last in line. Like, you're going to have a McGregor, Poirier, so it's Michael Chandler, Gaethje, and then Oliveira. So where Ferguson, he can be anywhere in that mix.
It's almost more convenient then for Dana White if Oliveira wins. Is that what you're saying?
I think he's in a good spot either way. I think negotiation wise and like his ears wise, it's probably like from Tony Ferguson lipping, it's probably better if Oliveira wins. But either way, there's an avenue for the UFC to find success with this. Yeah. Who do you think actually wins it though?
I'm a Tony Ferguson homer, so I'm gonna say Tony Ferguson. I would be devastated if he loses. I'd be really
prepared to get devastated. I think Oliveira's gonna win. I think Tony Ferguson, I think he's getting up there in age, and I think he really left something in the cage in that Gaethje fight. Mm-hmm. He took a beating. Like, I hate to be dramatic about it, but that's a career-changing fight. Like, the amount of damage he took, and to get right back and to get back in there. I mean, we're talking about, this is 9 months later.
9 months isn't that long though.
But the beating that he took, you know what I mean?
But also, I mean, that was a fight he was preparing for Khabib. He was preparing to fight Khabib.
What does that matter when you get punched in the face 100 times?
Yeah, but you're planning to go against a grappler, and then you face one of the best strikers in the division.
No, I'm not talking about the fact that he lost. I'm talking about the beating he took, because Gaethje put it on him.
Yeah,
but Tony Ferguson, the fact that he stayed conscious until the 5th round of that fight is just a testament to how tough Tony Ferguson is.
Yeah, because he's tough. The fact that he survived, and brain damage, that's just another Saturday night for Tony Ferguson. All right. True. I think this guy bounces back. I like, this guy is a capital F freak. Okay. I think his body is just, it's got different rules, man. He's
He's
got
just built
different.
different.
Yeah, he's got different like biology. Like a biologist, like put him under the microscope and was like, never saw that before, you know.
Yeah.
So I think I think Tony Ferguson's going to come back strong, and he's the most creative fighter. Tony Ferguson is a guy that can reinvent himself. You know,
Hmm.
all the fighters they got like Gaethje definitely like had the scouts going like this. I'm using these visual aids. Sorry to people. I know he was looking around, seeing, watching the tapes. Oh, like he's like this, he's like that, and then he was able to beat him. Tony Ferguson loses, and he goes back to the drawing board. He's like, I'm gonna come out and whole new Tony Ferguson, most creative fighter there is.
We'll see. All right. So I'm glad to know for that. So the main event too. Also, heads up, we got about 8-9 minutes left to keep her under an hour.
So
Uh,
let's recap this fight and then talk a little bit about 11th Island.
yeah, and yeah, well, then we'll get into the ad read and stuff too.
Yeah.
Main event: Davison Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno. 3 weeks after, 21 days after they last fought at UFC 255. I mean, all props to these guys for coming in, really saving the card, keeping a title fight on it.
Yeah.
It's gonna be interesting to see Figueiredo with the weight cutting issues he had earlier in the year, how he fares with the quick turnaround. I mean, both these guys had relatively not easy fights, but they won handedly. So damage wise, they're gonna be fine 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
Weight cutting wise is more of an issue. I mean, the champ Figueiredo, who's looking like a stud, versus number one Brandon Moreno. It's going to be a good fight. I
Yeah.
think Figueiredo takes it here. I think Figueiredo has a chance to have a long run in the flyweight division,
Yeah.
based on his absolute mauling of Benavidez and the quick finish of Alex Perez 3 weeks ago. I think he has a chance to do something really special here.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think Figueiredo is going anywhere anytime soon. As much as I like Moreno, who looks like our friend Roberto. Shout out to Roberto. Guy looks exactly like you. But
I don't see that.
you don't see that. You don't see like he looks like Roberto.
I kind of, now that I'm thinking
Like if
about it,
Roberto shaved.
yeah, maybe. But
Yeah. But anyways,
it's
I
going to be a
like.
good fight. It's
Yeah,
going to be.
it's
I
gonna.
don't think it's going to be a quick finish.
Yeah, and Figueiredo is a guy that could very well be just a staple name in the future in a little bit when he's just mucked people and gone after like a long time, like a long string of title defenses. And I mean, a guy that's willing to fight. He's willing. He's willing to fight very
Hmm.
like frequently. So he knows that the flyweight division is a little bit under cared for in terms of the fans and even to the level of promotion that it gets. And I think, I mean, most of it is fan driven, just less people are interested. So he just constantly is fighting. I don't care if it's a fight night. I don't care if it's like a co-main. I don't care if it's like below a co-main and it's a title fight. Like I'll fight, you know, whenever you want me to, just to get my name out there. And this is a guy that keeps working. He's almost perpetually in a camp, you know, and I think this is a guy that's not letting go of the belt anytime soon.
His biggest threat to his flyweight title is a bantamweight title shot.
Yeah.
That's my opinion, which I think in the future he will get.
Yeah.
I think bantamweight's a little crowded right now, but in the future he'll set that up and move up.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's his biggest threat to the flyweight title right now.
Yeah, I think you're totally right there. I don't think there's anybody right now in the flyweight that can beat him, and he knows it, and he's running the table. So more power to him. But hey, you never know what can happen. You know, if you fight enough, you know, your brain gets a bit mushy and
you start forgetting people's names like Chris talking about the main card.
Yeah, basically. So
any other thoughts on the card?
Nope. We got 5 minutes left on the show, so
all right. Do you want to talk about 11th Island, or do you want me to get it?
Yeah, so 11th Island is a website. You're probably just seeing it on the Instagram, and it's pretty gnarly. We do island reads, so if you want to just chillax and just enjoy some blogs, it's light reading. We have a good time. Brad, shout out to Brad. He carries the blog, so And then we got more things coming. We got Mitch and Brad Learn Something coming soon. And then we got an untitled top secret bug project that we're working on. It has something to do with bugs. So check out that pretty soon. Follow we notice a lot of you follow Big Game Talk on Instagram, but you don't follow 11th Island. 11th Island is the big mama. It is like the mothership for all of us. So check it out there. That's the source for everything. And click on the link in our bio. Links all down in the description. Like we got to all of the stuff going on the website.
Yeah, we're essentially we have a whole page on that for this podcast. We're just branching out from this podcast. This is our flagship though.
Yeah.
Like, this is Big Game Talks the baby. It's the one that we're going to drive the most into, but we're going to have all the links for it on the website. And of course, too, we have to talk about our sponsor, Phoenix Fit, FNX Fit. So make sure you go to fnxfit.com or .ca for wherever you live. Use promo code BGT15 for 15% off any purchase, not just your first. Get your family and friends some protein, some supplements, some athletic apparel for Christmas. Use the promo code. That's BGT15, and we'll love you for it.
Yeah. Yeah, we will.
And I think that's all I got, Chris.
Yeah, that's all I got too. It's been nice coming back. We're a little bit late on this one, so we apologize. It's been a crazy
Should also
week.
thank you, John Fitch, for the interview
thank you,
last
John
week.
Fitch.
We really appreciate it. If you haven't checked that out, make sure you check that out on last week's episode.
Yeah. Goodbye, friends.
We'll see you next week.
Oh, were you not ready to end yet?
I'm done.
I'm done too. All right. That was good.
Sounds good. That was actually